So, this video is a summary video of section or question 3, issues of relationships. So we're talking about marriage, we're talking about sex, we're talking about homosexuality, contraception, those sort of topics. So, what this video is going to do is just going to give you sort of the key points, all right, just those little points that you need to build your understanding around, but you can think of it almost as a checklist. If I know this stuff, I can pass my exam. So you could be asked about then, so let's start with the first topic of marriage, all right. Now, if you get asked to explain Catholic views on marriage or the nature of marriage, that sort of stuff, then you need to be thinking spell, all right. The fact that it's a sacrament, that it's permanent, it's exclusive, it reflects love from God, and it's life-giving, okay. Remember spell. Now, if it came up as like an evaluation question and yours something like Catholic views on marriage are outdated, you say, no, it isn't, because it remains all of those things, okay? If it comes to sort of like the alternative side, then what you do is you say no longer a sacrament. Lots of marriages taking place outside of church. It's no longer permanent, lots of divorce, no longer exclusive, lots of adultery, no longer life-giving, what's called the fact that a lot of sort of children are born outside of marriage, and then you can say love from God. Well, you can say about the fact that if adultery is taking place and or abuse, then how could it reflect God's love? So, you could be asked then about how this is reflected in the marriage ceremony, and you need to know where those different sort of points happen. So, for example, if it was what's called everlasting, the permanent, that you talk about the exchange of the rings, okay, during the ceremony. But if you just remember, when it comes to the ceremony, they attend the classes beforehand, priest welcomes everyone as a witness and says about God becoming part of the marriage, sacrament, that sort of thing. Readings from the Bible, all about love, yada, yada, yada. Then the vows are exchanged, followed by the rings being exchanged. Then there's the nuptial blessing. Remember that word, okay? Nuptial blessing, key. Now, following that, they have communion, unites them with God, and then finally they legally sign the register. That's it in a nutshell. Now, you could be asked about when it comes to marrying a non-Catholic, okay? This is one of those sort of difficult topics. So, if you think about it, right, just think about this naturally. Just think about it like your own class or whatever, right, that coming across other people who are Catholic, then this is going to present a bit of a difficulty sometimes in the world that we live in. So, if you're a Catholic Church are happy, they'd be most happy if you marry another Catholic, all right? Compatibility, that type of thing, right? However, they also, right, so your second point is that they accept that it's not always going to be the case in today's society, right? So, they would still allow people to marry, all right? But they've got to make sure that they sort of support the purposes. Then, if a marriage between a non-Catholic Christian and a Catholic, then this can be done, right? So the marriage can be blessed following the decision of a priest, okay? However, if it was from somebody of a different religion, all right, then they need something called disparity of the cult. So essentially, they need to, like, scale it up a notch. So the bishop decides, okay? So, easy as that. Now, that's sort of marriage done. You could be asked then about adultery, divorce, and remarriage. And there's a lot of crossover between these, okay? And if you remember the lesson when we learned about this, a lot of the same teachings figure. So, good news, it's quite straightforward. Now, adultery, divorce, remarriage, right? Just keep in mind, particularly when it comes, right, the fact that it breaks the 10 commandments and the wedding vows. You can say about that, how any relationship after divorce is adultery. You can say about adultery is obviously against 10 commandments as well. But you can say there is some teaching that suggests that adultery might be so bad that it could justify divorce, okay? And the Catholic Church would prefer people to work through their problems, all that type of stuff, right? So let's get into it in a bit more sort of depth. Now, if you got asked to describe or explain Catholic views on adultery, number one, forbidden by God, okay? Not okay. Catholics believe that marriage is permanent, all right? So it breaks the purpose of marriage, is your second point. Marrying somebody after they've been divorced is seen as adultery. Why? Because it's supposed to be a permanent relationship only broken by God. Adultery is particularly bad sin, okay, so this is like the however-ish to this, right? It's a particularly bad sin that some Christians think it actually justifies divorce. For that one, you want to remember the quotation. I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of sexual immorality, not immortality, makes her commit adultery, right? The final point, if you come up with a describe, you can say that Catholics believe that adultery is a particularly bad sin, but they should try and work through it. There's all that kind of idea, right? Working through it, staying together. When it comes to sort of Catholic views on adultery being wrong, you can say about the fact that their views are wrong because what they determine to be adultery is different to society, okay, because like divorce is allowed, that type of stuff. And the second thing is that the Catholic view is wrong, as some people would not be able to work through their problems, okay? It could be something that's particularly bad, might be a better thing for them to end the relationship, that type of thing. You could also use the one point about adultery being so bad, it could justify divorce from the answer I just gave. When it comes to then Catholic views on divorce, again, forbidden by God, only he can end the marriage. The next point is that Catholics believe that marriage should be permanent, so it breaks the marriage vow. Can you see it's the same answer essentially here, okay? The next thing is that Catholics believe that any relationship after divorce is adultery, okay? Again, the quotation is good for that one. Anyone who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery against her, okay? Remember those sort of quotes from Jesus there. Catholics believe that couples should try and work through their problems. Some liberal Christians think that divorce may be allowed. Can you remember on what grounds? Adultery. You got the sort of the quotation from before. Then the final one is that Catholics allow annulment to take place, which ends or wipes away a marriage. It's not the same as divorce, okay? But that's one of the things they would say. If a marriage hasn't fulfilled, hasn't been sort of officiated, if you want, right? Isn't official rather than officiated, okay? That it isn't official, so things like if it's never been consummated, so they've never had sex, that type of idea, okay? Or that somebody was forced into the marriage, etc., that it shouldn't have taken place, so it can be wiped away, all right? That's the final point. Now, if it's come up as a sort of a evaluation question about whether Catholic views on divorce are wrong, then again, it's similar answers before, right? That maybe their views on divorce are wrong because divorce is common in today's society. 2 out of 5 marriages end this way. Divorce is legal. It's allowed. So maybe their views are wrong, as the society says that divorce is acceptable. And the other thing you can say is that the Catholic view is wrong as some can't work through their problems, and divorce would actually be the best option. So if you talk about like abuse or adultery, that sort of stuff, whatever, that some people would say, well, why should these people remain together? They should be allowed to sort of move on, right? And the fourth thing you could say about it is you could use the liberal Christian view about the fact that divorce may be allowed on the grounds of adultery. Now, the final sort of topic with this one, oh, actually there's two because annulment comes into it as well, that Catholic views on remarriage. Now, essentially, remarriage and divorce, very similar again, all right? So, remarriage is forbidden by God, all right, because marriage is supposed to be permanent. What God has joined together, let man not separate. Secondly, Catholics believe that marriage should be permanent, so it breaks the purpose and the vows of marriage, your second point. The third thing, marrying somebody after divorce, that's right, you guessed it, is seen as adultery. The fourth point, remarriage, if the partner has died, okay, is acceptable. Why? Because death has ended the relationship. Therefore, God has ended the relationship. So that's the only thing that I suppose is particularly unique with remarriage when it comes to divorce. The final one is that remarriage, if the partners had their relationship annulled, is acceptable. Why? Because essentially it's like that relationship never existed, okay, rather than it being a next marriage. Alternative view on this, it's the same as divorce. It's the same as divorce, okay? Common in today's society, it's legal, all right, say that it might be impossible for some people to work through their problems, all right, adultery and abuse. Now, the final one, probably the most challenging one, is it's called about annulment. Now, essentially here, guys, right, annulment is that the Catholic Church believes if a marriage hasn't, right, been sort of fully, isn't fully as it should be, right, and what I mean by that, right, it hasn't fulfilled certain criteria, then it can be wiped away, okay? So, here we go. Now, Catholic views on annulment. Firstly, an annulment, all right, can take place to state that the marriage never existed, all right? So that's the sort of your first point. You draw upon what I've just said, really, okay? Now, some of those conditions, okay, are if one person in what's called of the marriage was forced into the relationship, so it could be an arranged marriage or that type of thing. It could be if somebody didn't understand the vows, and finally, if the marriage had never been consummated, which means that they'd never had sex, okay? Secondly, all right, second point is that it can take up to 2 years. Why? Because it's a detailed process. They need to interview witnesses, that type of thing, to get a full picture of this process. The church if the church grants an annulment, they're allowed to get married again, even within the church. Why? Because this is wiping the marriage away, not saying you got 2 divorced people here. This is 2 single people, all right, after it. They'd never been married, washed away. Finally, okay, the final sort of point you can say about here is that a person whose marriage was annulled would still have to have a legal divorce because they're still married in the eyes of the law. All right, so there's your 4 points there. Use the revision guide to build it around that, okay, but those are all the key points you need to remember for it. Just as a little one, okay, that's added to this is marriage care. You could be asked to describe or explain the work of marriage care. So, they're like a charity organisation that help Catholic couples. Right. If you're in a marriage and you're a Catholic, just like me, okay, so you're in a Catholic, what's called marriage. Now, you may need certain help beforehand, during, what's called, of the marriage. So, let's get into it. Now, marriage care aims to help couples by offering counselling. Why? Because times are hard during marriage sometimes, all right? So, they have call centres, face-to-face sessions, group sessions, blah, 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 blah. Also, what they do is that they try to help prepare people for marriage. Why? Because the couples need to have an inside knowledge, really, of what marriage is going to be like, so they got a better chance of being able to stay together. One of the things they do is that they have focus questionnaires, FOCCUS, okay? And it helps them to understand a bit more about each other, the partners. The next one is that marriage offers counselling again, but during sort of like key times, maybe like when the couple retire and they have to start spending all their time together. So what they do is that they offer something called a 50+ MOT, all right? So it helps them sort of like get a relationship on track or to understand their new relationship, or the not new, but you know what I mean, their changed relationship. Next one. Marriage care aims to help young people, all right, by offering education on what marriage entails. So they give people like me, they send stuff into schools, whatever, and then we can present there or do as part of PSE sessions, that type of stuff. And finally, they offer crisis counselling. Then what they do is that they actually would refer you then to one of their sort of partner groups called Family Lives. All right, if you can remember, that's amazing. If you can't, don't sweat it, all right? But that's marriage care and marriage, divorce, annulment, remarriage in a nutshell.